Welcome back to Views. Hi guys, today is going to be fun, actually kind of fun. Here's a Allison V12 engine, and if you don't get excited about that, well, you're probably dead inside. That's all there is to that. So let's learn a little bit about some of the intricacies of this thing.
So that's called safety wiring, and so on the aircraft, the whole entire engine had that safety wire on it so that nothing would come loose, obviously, when you're 20,000 feet in the air. So they were very particular about every nut and bolt, because there's a lot of shaking and vibrating in the airplane. Okay. In the boat, we eliminate a lot of that stuff, but some of it we leave on there just because.
As it is today, I'll be working on 2 or 3 boats, touching them intermittently, and during this time, the owner of this engine has decided to try to get it started and put it into a boat. So I'm going to try to catch that if I can. Not sure if you guys recall the shiny green cobalt with oxidized gel coat. This is her. And yeah, there's some gunk on the back. This boat sat in Lake Washington for a while, and here I'll use my finger as a cursor. I'll use the shadow of my finger as a cursor. So you see this stuff here, this is just scum, gunk, lake stuff. This washed off. So I'd like to say, if you doubt, when we get through the compounding and we put a wax on it, as long as we do things right, she holds up, and this is proof. But if you need more proof, let's go look at this customer's other cobalt. Just one second. So this is her other boat, the other cobalt, and as you can see, the emblems are still there. Amazing. There's a nice reflection. The WN numbers that we put on to match, they're still there. She's still looking good. Backs here looking pretty good. Not perfect, but it's black gel coat, for God's sakes. Nothing's gonna work. Nothing. But I think they look pretty good. So today what we're gonna do is attack this with a little bit on the black, a little bit of perfected EXAC, and clean it, take a look at it and see if we like it. And after that, we're gonna put a little Fire Glaze Plus on there, because that seems to be the trick that worked. And you'll look down here at the water line. It's got a good reflection, and it's nice and clean. Nothing seems to have stuck to it, which is awesome. And that's exactly, well, it's one of the many reasons that I use Fire Glaze Plus, because nothing really sticks to it. And everything cleans off really, really nice. Anyway, I'll get into this. We'll show you how that goes. So I'm going to take a little Perfected EX and a foam pad. I'm going to clean this up. It doesn't look all that bad right now, because it's not. So I'm going to just put a little bit of this on here. And you'll see the color of the... Now, if you're wondering why I'm using a foam pad as opposed to a wool pad, the answer's kind of complicated and simple at the same time. The boat didn't really look all that bad, so I don't need the aggressive bite of the wool pad to cut into the gel coat. I just wanted to rub some compound over the surface just to even it out, make it uniform, and bring back the swirl-free finish that we left it with last time we touched it. Just like every time that I do compounding on a boat, I'm hitting my edges first. Top edge and the bottom edge, and then I go to the cross cutting. And while I'm cross cutting, any of you guys in a really hot climate, you might do a section maybe a third the size of what I'm doing, maybe 2/3 the size of what I'm doing, and it's entirely up to you. One of the things that I find that make it so that I can do large sections of compounding at the same time without it drying up and without it gumming up or sticking to the surface and glazing itself to the boat, I generally try to work all of my compound equally. In other words, I try not to have one spot or section or edge or border of my compounding that I only hit once. If I hit one square inch 20 times, I'm going to hit another square inch 20 times. But that being said, you can always reduce the overall surface area that you're working with to make it slightly more manageable if that's something that you need. I don't find, and I know it sounds hard to believe in Washington State that we get really hot days, but I'm telling you, Jack, we get some hot motherfucking days. And when it gets 116 degrees and somebody says, hey, can you compound that boat? Yeah, I hate them on a personal level, but the answer is yes, we can actually do it. So what you're going to see here is just me kind of trying to finesse the surface so that it's nice and smooth. I'm taking off any surface impurities. This is kind of like what car guys would do with a clay bar. That's kind of how I feel what I'm doing is actually accomplishing. It's not so much digging up any gel coat. The foam pad is not very aggressive. It does have the ability to get aggressive if you make it. I'm not trying to make it. I'm just trying to smoothly, calmly make the surface as flat and uniformly shiny as I possibly can. And with that, I will shut up now and let you see what this looks like when it finishes out. And then we'll inspect it to see what it looks like. So we're looking for, I guess, just clarity. There shouldn't be much difference between what was before and what's after. All I'm really doing is just cleaning off the surface. And you can see the pad, it's not coming up black. We're really not taking off any oxidation. We're just taking off some of the dirt and stuff that sat on the gel coat. So I'll do that to the rest of the boat. I'll get the white below, and once that's done, we'll clean it, inspect it one more time, and then we'll put some fire glaze on. And actually, if you want, maybe I can show you what the sun looks like in this reflection. Maybe. There we go. No swirls. Hey, let's get back to that V12, shall we?
Does it usually take this long to start?
Alright, while Mitch is working on his Allison engine, I started on another project, and that's a Sea Ray with a blue hull. And the reason that I'm focusing on what I'm focusing on right now is the owner got some rock chips kicked up from trailering his boat, and he doesn't have big enough mud flaps, and it tore apart the front of this boat on both sides. Luckily for me, and you I suppose, I have access to Heavy Cut by 3M and a wool pad. If you look at the wool pad, you'll see that I am going to be taking some boat home with me tonight, which is okay. Sometimes boats need to be punished and reminded that they're supposed to look pretty, and if you don't treat them the way they need to be treated, well, they absolutely will not respect you. So, after grinding on this side for a little bit, I was able to get all but one of those hundreds, if not, well, let's just call it hundreds of nicks. There was one that I wasn't able to get out. It was a little bit too deep. That being said, I think the rest of it looks really good. And then I thought, well, I guess I should show you guys how this works. So I'm going to do just that. Generally, it involves a buffer, a nice wool pad, and some Heavy Cut by 3M. You could also start with Super Duty by 3M if you have really aggressive dings, but I thought, what the heck? Let's try the Heavy Cut and see if that works. So here I am starting with a fresh wool pad, a little bit of compound, and then I'm going to duck out for a second and let you see how this works. Okay, so I'm going to do basically the exact same thing. I'm going to spread out my compound over all these little chips and such. And that's about as high up as I'll go, because otherwise the camera won't see it, just like last time. Anyway, once that's on, I'm going to tip the buffer up at a fairly aggressive angle. So if this is flat, now how do I show this to you? Yeah, because okay, the boat's at an angle, the buffer's at an angle. It's going to be a little difficult to show you, but I'm at a fairly aggressive angle, and I'm pushing really hard on this blue section of the wheel. That's pretty much all that's getting used, and if you look, the middle is kind of white. So I'm just using the outside 1.5 to 2 inches, and I'm putting about as much pressure on there as I comfortably can without breaking my own shoulder. So spin it up, get it going a certain speed, lock the speed, get your angle right, get the amount of pressure you want, and then just slow walk it across the compound. You don't want to keep it in the same spot, obviously, because that'll build up an awful lot of friction. I also don't want the compound to go completely dry while I'm going this slow, because that'll also generate an awful lot of friction. So I try to keep the buffer wheel moving, even though it's a little bit slow. And then I just move up about a 1/2 inch and repeat the process. And the last little bit up here. Once that's all done, flatten out your buffer, give it a couple passes, smooth out all those swirl lines that's put in there from being up on an edge. And when you're done, your buffer wheel will have a nice color like that if you're working on a colored hull. So let's see what that looks like, shall we? Alright, so I just repeat that process. Up here is a pretty stiff line going through there. There's some more up here. That's all it is. A little bit of heavy cut, nice balanced wool pad, and a little bit of time and effort. You can get these out fairly quickly. And as for the transfer of stuff down here on the hull, no big deal. No big deal. Okay, well, I mean, we could be phonies. Nobody knows. Okay, so yeah, rubbing it off doesn't really get it off. Even if it did, you still got that color left behind that runs all the way down.
Oh, that hurt.
Yeah, there's a little friction there.
Ow.
It's the second time I've seen you do that. All right, so Herbert's going to take the same stuff that I was using before, heavy cut, and he's also got a wool pad. So we're going to show you how to take off a scum line without washing the boat.
Same basic idea. He finds a good angle, good pressure to work with, and just kind of works himself down the hull of the boat. And whenever he gets it to the point where he likes it, he'll flatten out, smooth it out. It's ready for clean and some product to protect it, keep it from looking like this next year. What product would you suggest we use on the waterline, Herbert?
Flagship.
Flagship? Okay.
Flagship.
We use flagship.
Flagship for just this.
What about Fire Glaze?
Fire Glaze if you perfect it.
Oh, okay. Did you guys hear that? So if after heavy cut we also use Perfect It, Herbert says we should probably use Fire Glaze. And if you're wondering why we're not going to use Fire Glaze or Perfect It, it's because the customer didn't ask for that. So we're not going to do it. But it looks really good, and Flagship lasts for a really long time and should keep this boat looking much cleaner than it came back looking this time. So anyway, thanks Herbert, appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm as brokenhearted about it as you are, but don't worry, the video's not over, so chances are you'll see this thing running pretty soon.
Before I get going too crazy here, there are some marks that a buffer won't get out, even sanding might not get out, and the reason is gel coat is kind of a form of plastic, and if you've ever had a piece of plastic like a ballpoint pen with a colored tube, and if you've bent it, where you bend it, it gets lighter in color. It's almost like the white comes out of the plastic. What it is a separation of the pigment from the plastic, and because there's no direct connection between the pigment and the plastic anymore, you're not getting that transference of color. So while I might be able to get this out, there's no guarantee. I absolutely don't know if I'll be able to get this out, but I certainly am going to try. So the technique here is a little bit different. I'm basically going to, instead of forcing my wheel to go across it, I'm going to go with the scratch initially, then I'll go across it. So I'm going to drag the product with the wheel this way, so that when the wheel grabs the product, it actually slides it across the surface and hopefully scratches and abrades it. Anyway, let's find out what that looks like. Oh, big buffer. So much torque. Almost gone. Ta-da! Now I can see the indent, the three-dimensional valley where that little scratch was, but I don't see the difference in color anymore. Or at least I don't see it so substantially that adding a wax to that would cover it up and hide it. Now I'll flatten out, blend it into the part I did just moments ago. and we'll wipe off and see what type of results we got. Hopefully it looks pretty good. Yay. Nice job. Ta-da. All right. Now anyone can do this with a buffer and some compound and a little bit of time. All those dings, all those little nicks in the gel coat, they're gone. And just like we showed you here, if you have to clean the scum line of a boat, grab some heavy cut wool pad, grind away. If you're wondering what it all looks like when it's all said and done, here's a fairly decent example. Now again, keep in mind this is just heavy cut. There's still some lint and dust left on the surface of the boat, but my guess is if I turn this up just enough, you'll be able to see the sun and maybe the reflection. Is that showing it? I can't even see it. Now that's all the sun we get. But no giant holograms, no giant swirls. Heavy cut, if used right, can finish really, really nicely. And it got rid of all those chips and dings from the road. Now hopefully this customer buys mud flaps for his truck so that the next time he hauls it, he doesn't get all those. But if they do, no big deal. There's the reflection. Heavy cut. Now, if you wanted to and you wanted to do a really nice job, you could come back over this, same motions, a little bit less effort with Perfected EXAC. Clean the boat and coat it with a really good polish. Almost anything that you'd use after cleaning the boat and going through this much work should last throughout the season. And if it doesn't, well, try it again next year. Anyway, thanks for watching. Now I can die happy. Thank you, Mitch.
Well, I appreciate you hanging out with me, and I hope that wasn't too choppy a video. I wanted to show you a couple different things, and I also, every time he started that engine, or at least I heard the starter running, I stopped what I was doing and ran over there. If you're interested at all in learning boat crap, like the stuff that I just showed you, by all means, hit the subscribe button, throw me a thumbs up, leave a comment or a question in the comment section, and if you come back, I might be diving into something like this nasty pile of crap. It's a big, beautiful cobalt, at least on the inside. She's a big, beautiful cobalt. On the outside, she's a blight on society, and she should probably be put down. I'm thinking 12 gauge, 3.5 inch slug. Just kidding. If you are interested in doing boats and you want to see how you take something like this and turn it into something that's even cooler, you should probably be part of this subscription channel thing. And who knows, you might just catch a World War II V12 Allison engine starting up. It's always something. That's all I'm saying. It's always something. I appreciate you spending some time with me and hanging out and wasting a good 30 minutes of your life. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something. And if nothing else, I hope you're at least slightly inspired to get out there and try. Anyway, Thanks so much for your time. I appreciate it. We'll see you next time. Uses.